y'all, it's Paula, Hillbilly Orchids. Welcome back to my channel. I should have gotten it better adjusted, I guess, before I turned the on button on. I'm having a time, you guys. I'm having a really bad time. As my luck would have it, I got sick Friday. Kind of long story short, I've always had a sliding hiatal hernia, and it's always caused me to choke on food, of course, especially if I'm in a hurry, especially if I'm trying to, hurry up and chew something, and which I do have Sjogren's, the autoimmune disorder where it causes dry eyes, dry mouth. So over the years, I've lost quite a few of my back teeth, especially because of the Sjogren's being dry mouth. It causes excessive tooth decay, of course, different things that would be my luck. So anyways, yeah, my long story's getting long, sorry. I choked on some chicken Friday afternoon, and my husband came home, and I thought it came up, not being gross, but I did vomit 5 times, sorry, it was 5 times, and so the chicken came back up. Well, I felt bad, and my husband didn't know this, that I was feeling that bad and everything, and he knew I think it was after that he found out I choked on chicken, but he bought me a 6-inch sub from Subway, a BMT, and I was like, that's my favorite. So he come home, and I told him what happened, and I said, I'm scared to eat that sandwich. I said, because normally after I have an instance like that, I eat like soup or something, So I told him, I said, well, I'll try, a couple bites, and if it goes down, okay. And like, I usually drink like 2 great big things of water, with my meals, so that I make sure I have plenty of fluids to flush down, the stupid, food that I'm eating, because it's, to keep from choking on it. So, the night went on. I was able to eat the sandwich, and I felt okay, but as the night went on, I started feeling weirder. Like, I started having like pain in my chest that went through to like my left shoulder blade, and the pain in my back and my shoulder blade was just terrible. If I laid on a heat pad, it seemed to help, but I was just so nervous about the other symptoms, and I was feeling weird, like I was going to throw up again. So I was really, really scared. So unfortunately at midnight, I woke my husband up, and I told him, I was like, you got to take me to the emergency room. So we went to the emergency room, and I had she was an old Russian lady, hateful, mean thing. I never met anybody mean like that, but yeah, she was different. And, they did a CAT scan on me with dye, I guess, to make sure that I didn't have any food stuck. And she come out, and because she said that I don't no longer have a sliding hiatal hernia, like they don't go away, but she says I don't even have one. So at that point, they just thought I was lying to them, and they basically threw me out. And I'm like, well, imagine that. So the next day, as day was going on, like my hand was getting worse, and like my last 3 fingers on this left hand were numb, and it was hurting down the back side of my arm, still hurting in the shoulder blade in my back. So I took my husband to work and kept the car, and I went to see my personal doctor. Well, they went ahead and did x-rays and stuff, which I still haven't gotten the results from those yet. But yeah, he said that he feels that I just strained the muscle, that I pulled that muscle, which I don't know. I've never had anything make those fingers go numb and I'm weak too in that hand. Like, I don't have the grip that I normally have in that hand, and I can't hold on to anything, and it's kind of weird. So, but they did a heart EKG and all that stuff, and all that stuff said it was fine. They did all that in the emergency room. All of that was good. They ruled out the heart. My blood pressure was bad, but I was in a lot of pain, and I was very nervous. And the pain has caused me to have panic attacks, which is another terrible thing to have to deal with and go through. I can't even have my dog snuggle me because I feel like I'm being suffocated. And yeah, it's causing me to freak out. And sorry, I'm getting a little upset about it because it really aggravates me. But anyways, of course, as everything goes, it's all getting blamed on my autoimmune disorders. So yeah, that's where I'm at. So they did give me a steroid shot and pills to take by mouth, and they're sort of helping. I mean, they've definitely alleviated the pain to where I'm functioning better. It's still there. I still have the tingling in my fingers, and the weakness is still in my hand. But I am laying on ice and alternating heat. Heat feels better on it, honestly. Of course, nobody likes that ice stuff. So it is terrible, even though it's starting to warm up a little bit around here. Starting to warm up. I don't know about you guys. June 1st, I had the heat on. I had the stove on. It was 42 degrees outside. It was ridiculous. Absolutely crazy time of year. Raquel had suggested to me to pick out certain cattleyas or something that I'd take outside this summer. He said, wait till your lower temperatures get up to 60. And I'm like, I don't know when that's going to be. That's crazy. Like, it's, we're still again tonight. It's actually Tuesday, and Tuesday, June 3rd. And it's still, like, we're going to be cold again tonight. We're going to be like 42 again tonight. And still entirely too cold. I can put them out in the day, but I'd have to bring them back in. 42 at night is too cold for them. It's too much. But anyways, this is Phal Friday, so it's going to be kind of not a great Phal Friday, and I apologize for that. But I decided I was going to repot Tetraspis Wilson because his blooms fell. So sadly, his blooms are gone for this time. I figured it's now or never. I did want to hold off for those blooms because they were just to die for. I thought they were the cutest little things ever. Definitely was what I was wanting. That's the second one I had. First one was too small and I lost it. So hopefully this second one will be better. But I did want to repot her because she was in those real tight sleeves. And of course you can see how they grow so compacted in those tight sleeves. And but I want her I want to try to put her in a 4-inch pot. I think it will be just fine, especially because I'm going to mix a little tree fern and a little moss. I'm going to put a little bit of moss with her tree fern. Not a lot, but just because she was in mostly moss, so I want her to maintain the moisture that she's been used to, That's a one important thing about phals, and that is why I wanted to discuss this with you. Like I said, it's not going to be a great Phal Friday, but anytime you repot a phal, you have to consider what media they were in prior. This one was in moss. It had a little bit of bark topping, but that was probably just for algae, deterrent, that kind of thing, which a lot of people do that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But her main staple was moss. So that would mean that this plant is used to high amounts of moisture for a long time. Now, granted, you can convert them. You can convert them to bark. You can. The only thing I would suggest is when converting them to bark is that first month, at least, sometimes I do it for 2 months, but for at least the first month, I water that plant 1 to 2 times a week so that those roots are still getting an ample amount of moisture, but in that 2-month period, they're getting a chance to adapt because they're not so used to being that dry. You see, if you go and just not, water that plant for, 2 weeks after you pot it, this plant's going to really be suffering because its main source of water just got cut off. It's been used to running on high amounts of moisture. Does that make sense? So if you cut it off and put it in dry bark, this plant's going to it's going to suffer. And so by you watering it twice a week, it's really getting that moisture back. You know what I mean? So it's giving it a chance. And then like the third month, sometimes I kind of, I just start decreasing it a little bit, like by one, instead of like 1 week I'll water it once, where the other weeks, I'll just kind of start lowering it, backing it off basically. But, in order to just kind of do away from that, I mean, that just depends upon if you're a bark grower, which media, I'm going to talk about media. Media, honestly, media is for us. Media is not for these plants. It doesn't matter from Adam to Eve of what you plant these plants in. The media is for our convenience. It's not for the plant's convenience. And we're going to talk about that. Like I said, that's going to be a whole different subject. That might be a different Phal Friday discussion, is medias. But yeah, so depending upon too of what I'm capable of caring for this plant, how many times a week I am able to water this plant. Does this plant fit into my watering regimes and that kind of thing? Or am I going to have to put it in something more moisture retentive like tree fern or moss, So it just depends upon your choice and your preference and what you're comfortable growing in. That's another thing. There's certain medias that each of us are more comfortable growing in compared to others. Like any day of the week I'll grow in bark compared to moss. Me and moss are not friendly. We're not. We are on the worst of terms, and I've been trying over the years to slowly adapt and adjust and do like people say, a lot of people say make sure to make it fluffy, and I still don't really have the greatest results with it being fluffy, because over time it will pack. It doesn't matter how fluffy you make it in the beginning. Over time it will pack. So those are some things to look out for. But this one's going to go into a little bit of moss, mostly tree fern. So it's still got the high moisture content of the tree fern. So I'm not so concerned about it. And as you know, my phals have been adapting tremendously to tree fern. So I'm not so worried about it, to be honest. I am, and sorry about the steroids make me emotional too. That's why I got teary, and I apologize for that. Steroids make me an emotional wreck. So, yeah. I can cry about anything, which I don't know, most people say women can do that anyway. So is it anything any different from any other day? I'm not usually like that, but because of the steroids, I'm emotional. They're, of course, causing me to have hot flashes and such, and that's terrible to have to live with as well. So what I'm going to do with this girl is she's got that big hole pocket inside of her. I am going to put a ball of moss in the center of her. Okay, very loosely. Just like that. She's going to have some moss stuffed in there, and like I said, that's just to fix that hole, and so she doesn't have, I'm not trying to stuff things in that hole while it's in a pot. That makes it a little more complicated to try to do it while it's in the pot. It's a little easier to do it while it's outside the pot. And that's not too shabby, and we're going to set her down in there. Now, I want to try to get as many of these aerial roots to go down as possible, which is going to be a little bit of a struggle, but it's doable. It's really hard to do anything with this hand. It's so weird feeling. It's tingly and doesn't have any strength. All right, so she's got a little bit of the moss on the center, and that's always going to be something that I'm going to keep in my mind when I'm watering her too. So I'll remember that she's got a moss core basically, which is nice. I had to laugh. I had a viewer ask me, said they needed the better poker. Where did I get these? And these are bamboo skewers on Amazon. They're relatively cheap. You can get like a pack of them for like $7.99. They said I need the ultimate poker like you got. So I was like, I gave him the link, and yeah, I put it in there. I thought that was pretty cute. Yeah, get something that works, share it. Why not? It's great to share with people, and when you got good stuff that works good. I find it to be optimal. I mean, I've cut up a few over the years and used them as steaks, which I'm running out. I probably should get some more, because I do like it as far as for a poker. I do. Another question that I had a viewer ask, why, as I'm trying to poke in here and get rid of these pockets, when phals like, or plants, orchids like air. They like air around their roots. And that is a really good question. Now, as I explained to her, I said, okay, here's the deal. Yes, phals like air, and all orchids like air around their roots, okay? They don't need that much air around their roots, as you can see, according to the media where it comes in. It's smaller air pockets, so when you water this plant, moisture is going to lay around those medias and lay against that root, where this one's going to be bypassed by fluids. This whole root right here will be bypassed by fluids because it's got this big air pocket, okay? So that in turn can cause that root to die off completely. If that root doesn't continue to get the right amount of moisture that it's used to, it will die because it's not getting moisture. Now, it'll probably get some from the top, and that's okay, but it still could cause that root to die. So that's why we press those down in there and we try to get rid of the air pockets, because you don't want the roots to die. You don't. You got to keep as many of the roots as you possibly can. So I hope that made sense too. Figured that would be a good thing to add. You guys are coming up with great questions and such, and I appreciate them, and I love talking to you guys online. I love answering your questions in my comments. It's really a lot of fun. A lot of great people on my channel right now, and I want you to know I really appreciate y'all. I really do. Everybody asks wonderful questions. Everybody's being real great towards one another. It's been a real actively wonderful community, and I'm glad for that. Haven't had to kick anybody out for being a meanie. In other words. Those days have been bypassed for now. Thank God. I've had a few. I've had one definite that I had to kick out. Because I'm just not going to have, I'm not going to have people talking bad things about other people in my comments. You got a problem with somebody, go to their channel or go deal with them. If you don't like that I'm friends with them, I'm sorry. It's ain't high school. I'm not going to be friends with somebody because you're not. You're not going to, I've been friends with somebody for 3 years and you're going to come at me and say, well, they were mean to me. Why are you talking to them? I'm not playing high school. I'm just not doing it. I've been friends with some of these people since I started. And, if they were rude to you, I'm sure it was for a reason. And the instance in the person that I'm talking about, it was a very frivolous comment that they made. And, you made the comment to him, so you deal with it. You don't take on somebody that's got many, many more years growing than you do. It's all about learning. We all are here to learn and, talk with each other and learn off of each other and share instances and things that work and things that don't, and different things like that. Now see, as I was sitting here talking, running my jibs, I was noticing I'm overburying this plant. So I'm knocking some of this back out. I do not want to overbury this plant. I do not want this stem to get wet on this plant and stay wet. So knock a bunch of that back out. I got to running my jibs and not paying attention, and I don't want to overpot this plant. So, and those roots can stick up a little bit. That's fine. They've been in the air anyways, so they're okay. And see, that's another instance where that is all right. These roots are not used to having moisture around them all the time, so they don't have to have medium on them right now. Does that make sense? So they're fine to stay out of the medium. So that's it for potting her up. So my Tetraspis Wilson is good to go. She is good to continue on and bring me some more beautiful blooms next year. So I hope that's all right for a Phal Friday, guys. Like I said, I'm really sorry I couldn't get into anything else, anything more in depth, or I mean, it's pretty decent start to a week. So but yeah, and this might be a pretty slow week. I might do 2 slower weekend walk arounds this week. I really do got to rest my neck a lot and try to get better. I didn't get a fully water this week. I watered all my small pots, but my large pots won't get watered. I sprayed them, but that's going to be just as good as they're going to be able to get right now. That's all I can do. So that's it, y'all. That will do it for this week's Phal Friday. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. If you like my stuff, please like, comment, and share. That would be awesome, amazing. I do have paid and free subscriptions. You can choose to do either. I was trying to help sweet Paula Dixon. She was trying to figure out between the phone and the TV how to get onto my paid channel, and I had to help her, and I was having a hard time because when you do it on your phone and you go into it, it's just like you're going into your account. So it's not like I'm going on to another channel. So it's kind of hard for me to tell you, oh yeah, it's right here, you know. So it was kind of funny, but we got it didn't we? It was all good, and I really appreciate that, Paula. I do. You know, I've got a couple subscribers now, 3, and that's amazing, and I really appreciate you guys. I am going to start doing try to do something a little different for my paid guys. You guys have any ideas, let me know too in the comments, or get a hold of me, get in touch with me, and yeah, get something going for my paid guys. So, but if you don't want to do that, you can do a super thanks, and the super thanks is just as great. Anything you do will help me towards my upcoming projects, and I did get one thing started, and that's something I'll make a video of before this all, or kind of while this happened. This came in, and so I did get one of my projects in the works. So we'll cover that one though. But that's it, y'all. I'll shut up now. So with that said, I do appreciate each and every one of you beautiful, wonderful people stopping by and hanging out with me. And bye for now, y'all. Till we meet again.